Well, good morning, students. Hi, everyone. Very good morning. Say good morning, guys. I hope you're all in time. So, today we are going to have a good interaction towards e learning of design of steel structures, okay, through some images and videos. So, regular classwork calculus. Today we will have a bit more interaction, right? Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. Right. So, we'll start. So, 10:30 right now. Yeah, so we will start with the images. So where it gonna show you applications of steel structures, right? So here I am going to show you the different applications of these steel structures. uh, See, this is a temple which was constructed with an iron ore. So this is an oil and gas plant, so which was constructed on seashore. So it's all made up of steel. So you can see, right? So it's an industrial steel plant. So you can find here it's a chimney, steel chimneys. So where it is emitting industrial fumes. So every part of structural steel design is based on what we are learning, right? So here you can see, so there is a joint of this chimney. So it's all based on the rivet connections. So this is how the knowledge of steel structures what we are studying is going to be play a vital role in the real design of these structures. So it's a bridge. So I told you, right? So it's an RCC bunker. So in the same way, even we will have a steel bunker also. So it's a steel truss bridge. So this is called girder, launching girder, or you can call it as a gantry girder. So what this girder do? It will shift the material from one place to other place, right? So this gantry girder you will come to know in advanced steel design in your MTech structure engineering. Again, steel truss bridge. So this is called a bunker, so which was constructed which was fabricated and placed beneath the ground. Steel water tank, overhead water tank. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, so yesterday I told you, right, cold formed sections. So this is the cold formed section. So cold formed sections will looks like this. So it will have very slender, thickness will be very small. So where it will be used for structural frameworks. Okay, so regular see here you can see the C section, you can see the Z section, right? So regular our hot roll steel sections will have a predefined thickness. Tower, telephonic tower. Again steel truss bridge. So here you can see I section was used as a ties and struts over here, right? So here I section is acting as a girder, as a deck. See, all these are riveted. So you can see over here the joint is a riveted joint to make this bridge as a permanent bridge, permanent structure. Again, electrical transmission line tower, it's also made up of steel angular sections. So you can find different types of steel sections like flat bar, angle, rounded rod, hexagonal rod, sheet, channel, I section, square tubular section, rounded tubular section, like this. So this is what we are seeing in our flyovers. So recently all our flyovers are constructed with the plate girders to make construction fast. Okay, so this is what the plate girder. So you can see where the depth of the web is too high, isn't it? So that is the reason why the depth of the web is to be stiffened with the help of a longitudinal and vertical stiffness. And what is this? So these are called cross diaphragms. Okay, steel cross diaphragms. So where it is connecting longitudinal girders laterally. Okay, that is how the cross diaphragms are used. So this is fire resistance coating, so which is an organic paint which is inert at normal temperatures. So fire resistance coating usually do on steel sections to make it fire resistance. Okay. See, outlook, the structure will look like this, but the complete interior framework is steel only. So this is what a silo means. So I think you all observed this in ready-mix concrete plants where the cement usually store in this. So this is what silo. Okay. So you in your language we call it as a hooper, but we should call it as a silo. So his name called John Smeaton. He is the first civil engineer worldwide. So our civil engineer Mokshanam Vishweshwaraya, but the worldwide John Smeaton is a civil engineer. See how column free structure. So it is just possible with steel structure. See, there is no column in between. So that is how the auditorium, function halls, assembly halls are you know designed. So you can see here, so this is auditorium stadium. So this exhibition halls and manufacturing facilities, and this is called aircraft hangars. So if you want to have a maintenance of an aeroplane, maintenance of an aircraft, so definitely you should have a column free structure where it can accommodate a minimum of 50 to 60 meters of length, right? So where we go for PEB structures, so which is called a pre-engineering building structures. Okay. So steel water tanks, overhead water tanks. So this is the pedestrian walk, which is all made up of steel. So this is the first iron pillar, so which was erected 1600 years before. So the speciality of this iron pillar is till date it is not yet corroded. So that is how this pillar was standing as a unique structure. So where it is made up of iron. Okay, it is in New Delhi. So this is what I am talking about. See, steel arch bridge. A huge auditorium, a steel water tank. So this is a bunker, a steel bunker. Folded steel monitorium here. So these are all cold formed sections. So here you can see an industrial building, so which is getting erected. So you can see over here, these are called rafters, I section rafters. Okay, so these are all columns. So you can see this rafter and the second rafter was connected with the help of another I section, which we called as a purlin. So this is what a purlin, which is supporting top roof and which is connecting to rafters. Okay, so like this, and I section. Henry Bessemer. Okay, cooling tower, steel cooling tower, so which is in the industries. Okay, so these are the applications what I want to let you know. So these are the structures which you are going to design in the real applications. Okay, right, now coming to few more images which is related to our structural elements. So this you can't see clearly, right? So I think you can see a column which was connected with lateral beams. So this is called lacing and this is called batten. See, this is what we are talking about yesterday, which is a buckling consideration. See, you can see a huge I section over here. So this is the top flange and this is bottom flange. When a beam is subjected to lateral load, so here is the load. So when it is subjected to lateral load, what happens? See, the web was buckled, right? So instead of bending, so there is a small bending also happened, but you can see the vertical web buckling takes place. Why? Because of having less in thickness. So when the member is having more in depth, your web becomes slender. So that is the reason why you should keep it in mind when you are designing your web. So you have to see your web should not buckle. Your web should have a web buckling strength, right? So there is a possibility also of web buckling and web crippling. So by that, you should be very cautious when it is designing, uh, you know, for the shear. So web buckling takes place. So even for the beams also. So this is how a beam was connected to joist. So this is the major beam and this is the minor beam. So how these two beams are connected, right? So by having a uniform surface on two flanges. So this is how you can connect beam to beam joint. So this is how column to beam joint takes place. So if you want to see it in clear, right? Right. So this is what yesterday we talked about. I section is the most stiffer section, which is having more stiffness, which is having more strength. Then after channel, then square section, angular section, and the last one is the T section. This is the least stiffness, and the more stiffness is for I section. That's why we use I section in the most structural applications, steel structural applications. So this is what column splicing, where which is having two different cross sectional areas. The bottommost column is having a more cross sectional area, and this is having less cross sectional area. How can you connect these two for your required length? So where you can do lacing like this, sorry, splicing like this. Okay, so this is what non-uniform section splicing. So this is what slab base column, which is connected to slab base, and slab base connected to concrete foundation. These are all designs. So there are all a few images. So anyway, we are all going to talk about these in the next coming classes. Okay. Yeah. See, whenever we are solving problems, so we come across a term called gusset plate, isn't it? Gusset plate. What do you mean gusset plate? So this is what a gusset plate. So what is the purpose of the gusset plate? So it is a member which is connecting few more structural elements. So it may connect rafter, it may connect tie member, it may connect strut member. Okay. So this is what the gusset plate. So usually you can see the gusset plate in the roof trusses. So here you can see at the right end, you can see a gusset plate which is connecting the cords, different cords. So you can see lacing in railway stations, in the major bridges. So this is called gusset base. This is what a gusset plate which is connected to rafters. So this is the real structural failure, steel structural failure, right? So you can see angle which is subjected to local buckling. So the angle which was subjected to compression, right? So see how the leg is subjected to local buckling, right? So this is what a rivet. Rivet is a permanent connection, right? So instead of seeing a nut, you can see only a head on both sides of the connection, right? So if you see only a head on both sides of the connection, so that connection is a riveted connection, so which is a permanent connection. So this is what a slab base, a column which is connected to foundation, okay, to the plate, and these bolts are called anchorage bolts. Okay, for every column there will be 4 bolts, so which are an anchorage bolts, so which will be anchored into the concrete foundation, right? So that's ends with the images. So now I would like to show some videos on angle buckling. See how angle buckles when it is subjected to compression force. So you can see it in video. So here person is showing two different sizes of an angles. One is a bigger size and the other one is a smaller one. Smaller one in the sense the length of the legs will be different. Okay, so let us take this as 100 by 100 an angle, and the other might be a 50 by 50 angle. Okay, see your member is placed in between support, and he's having two different weights in his hand. He placed a lighter weight. For this lighter weight, the more cross sectional area angle subjected to buckle. See how the member was buckled, right? See, for the same load, if you replace your angle with a smaller size, smaller in cross section. So this is the angle which is having a size of 50 by 50. By placing the same load, what happens? See, there is no local buckling. There is no buckling in the angle. So that means smaller cross sections will have less buckling than a bigger cross sectional sizes. See, for a heavy load, what happens? See how the angle was buckled, right? So the smaller members also will buckle, but the load might take, it might take more load. Okay, it need a more load to get it buckled. Okay, so this is what angle buckling. And one more I would like to show you. And there are plenty videos like differences between working stress method and limit states method, and how you can define elastic and plastic deformations in a member, right? Mm, yeah, I would like to show you different types of structural steel sections. See, these are the types of steel sections, and these are the things where it is gonna used. Carbon steel, it can be used for, we already gone through all different types of steel section, steel structural steels, right? So in that, carbon steel, so it will be used for fences, chain links and knives. Alloy steel, which will be used for turbine blades, electrical motors. Stainless steel, I think you all know, it will be used for kitchen utensils, razor blades and all. And tool steel, so it will be used for cutting, welding and drilling tools. Sorry. So these are all different shapes of steel members which are made up of with alloy steels. So this is a spring which is made up of spring steel. So see, bearings. A cutting blade is also made up of steel. So here you can see a pin connection, so where it allows rotation in the cutting blade. All railway tracks. Okay, ball bearings. Even so this is what I am talking about, hot rolled steel section. See, someone questioned, when do we prefer unequal cross section splicing in columns? Yeah, exactly. See, let us take three-story building. So obviously, the ground floor column will carry more load compared with the first floor column, isn't it? So why can't you reduce the column size when you are going more stories? So you can do that. So it is not it is not possible practically in RCC structures. Why? Because you can't maintain an axial load from top to bottom of the column structure. But it can be possible in steel structure by having an non-uniform cross sections at every story of the building. Okay, so there we can use the unequal cross section splicing in the columns. So because the load in the top floor will be always less compared to the ground floor, right? Yeah, in that way. Okay, so these are the steel sections, and there are plenty videos, Amma. Just I would like to show you few videos, so which are very important for our concepts. Okay, so if you want, I will share all these videos to you where it talks about elastic and plastic deformation, and elasticity, plasticity, elastic plastic, how it can be differ, right? And what do you mean plasticity? So it can also be you can go through with some few videos. Okay, right. So now we'll go to connections, so where again we will have few images in the connections also, right? So this is what a pin connection. Okay, so what is this? So these are called ropes, so or you can also call it as a strings. So in cable stayed suspension bridge, every string was pinned to the main cord member. Okay, so there we use pin as a connection over there. See, here you can see lap joint where plates are lapped each other and which is connected with a bolt. You can see the red mark, right? So this red mark is the shear part where the bolt is subjected to shear. Okay, so when the plates are subjected to tension, where the force is perpendicular to the axis of the bolt. So this is the axis of the bolt and your force is perpendicular to the axis. So what happens? Your bolt is subjected to shear. So this is how the shear failure happens in the bolt. So not only image, I will show you the practical video how the bolt is subjected to shear. So this is what a compression of hole. So earlier what I showed, so this is the shear of bolt, right? So now I am showing compression of hole. How the hole was compressed. So when it is subjected to tension, when the plates are subjected to tension, even the hole is subjected to compression. So because before shear failure in the bolt, your plate will have some kind of crushing kind of failure. So this is how it looks like. Yeah. So this is what about black bolt. Yesterday we discussed about the different types of bolts, right? Unfinished black bolt, finished turned bolt, right? High strength friction grip bolt, isn't it? So this is what black bolt. So what do you mean black bolt? Unfinished black bolt, where the shank portion was unfinished. So this is the thread portion, okay, and the rest of portion is shank portion, where the shank was unfinished, right? So you can find different lengths of bolts over here. So where the shank was unfinished, so by that we can make use of this bolt for only for temporary structures, not connections, temporary structures, or it can be used for where the load will be static. Okay, yesterday I forgot to tell you guys, unfinished black bolt and finished turned bolts are made up of mild steel rods, mild steel hexagonal or square rods. But coming to HSFG bolt, HSFG bolt is made up of HYSD bar, high yield steel deformed bars. Okay, so that's how HYSD bar is going to make HSFG bolts are made from HYSD bars. So this is what a black bolt. I want to show you even the turned bolt also. See, you can see the turned bolt over here where the shank was finished properly. So whatever the length you are observing here, the whole shank length is finished properly. So that's why it can be used for a structure where there is a possibility of dynamic loads. Okay, so this is what a turned bolt. Earlier you see a black bolt, so this is what a turned bolt. I will show you HSFG bolt also. See, this is how the HSFG bolt looks like. See how nice it was. Compared with the turned bolt, HSFG bolt will have more strength because of the member is made from HYSD bar, and it will have a washers, right? And the shank portion is completely smoothened properly, and where you can apply the load, where you can apply where you can tighten this nut up to its proof load. Okay, even it won't break, right? So that it will have a capacity to sustain up to a proof load. Okay, where we are? So we are here, right? Yeah. See here, you can see a bolt, washer, and a threaded part. Anyway, today we are going to discuss about what do you mean gauge, what do you mean pitch, what do you mean edge distance and everything. Okay, that is what a terminology. So no issues here. Yeah, so this picture shows you how the plates will get failure and what is the mode of what is the mode of failure in the plates happens when the plates are subjected to load. So this is what net tension. So this failure is called rupture. Okay, so this the way how plate is failing, right? So this is the rupture failure in the plate. So next one is shear out. So when the plate is having a failure like this, so this is called a shear out failure in the plate. Bearing failure. So what happens in the bearing failure? You can see the failure in the plate like this. Okay, and cleavage. So this is what a cleavage. See, in bearing, what member is subjected to? So bearing failure of the plate will be something like, bursting, right? And this is the cleavage of the plate. Cleavage failure, bearing failure, shear failure in the plate, and net tension failure in the plate. Okay, these are the different nomenclature of the bolts, and this is how the pin connection will be used where you want to make structure to be rotated. Okay, so this is also a pin connection. Again, pin connection. So majorly you can see the pin connection in industrial machineries. Okay, see how the plates are subjected to tension where the tensile force is transferring into a bolt, and where the bolt is deforming, and it is failing, I mean it is deforming in a form of a bearing. So you can see how the bolt is having a bearing deformation of the plates. And see again, this is the pin connection. Again, pin connection, where it allows rotation. Okay, this is what a rivet looks like this. So there is no threaded part in the rivet will have only a head and shank portion and tail end. So what this tail end will do, so when you are using rivet to connect parent members, so they will melt this shank and tail portion. Okay, and by inserting them into plate holes, and they will hammer this tail end to make it into a head part. Okay, so that is how a rivet is going to be a permanent connection. On both sides you can see the head after having a connection. See, there are different forms of rivets. So like this, the heads will be in different shapes. So this is how the rivet looks like. Both at both ends of the plates you can see only the head part. Okay, yeah, and here it is showing a tearing of plate, how the plate got teared, right, when it is subjected to tension. So where the bolt strength is more than the strength of the plate, what happens? So plate will get failure first instead of a bolt. So where the plate is tearing off, right? So these are the few images where it is explaining about different failures of bolts and plates. So now I would like to show you some videos how the failure takes place. So first I want to show you how the bolt is getting shear, I mean shear failure in the bolt. See, here both the plates are under tension, and the force is perpendicular to the axis of the bolt. See how the bolt is going to fail in shear. So this is how your bolt is shearing off. Okay, see, when you see in this view, I mean when you see in this view, you can see only the bolt failure. Let us take bolt strength is more than the plate strength. What happens? Plate will fail. So how plate will fail, we will see in the next video. So here you can see in other view how plate is going to fail. So this is the shear failure of plate. Okay, so you can see it again. Right, so what kind of failure it is? So it is called bursting failure. So in shear you can see bursting failure. In bearing, bearing failure of plate you can see crushing. Tensile failure of plate you can see rupture. Okay, so this is called bursting failure. And now I want to show you how plate is got teared. So earlier you have seen bursting, now you can see the tearing of plate. See how plate got teared, right? So this is what rupture means, right? You want to see it again? Sorry. Right, so this is the tearing failure of plate. And one more. Right, so here there is a small animation, so how riveting is done. So this is the rivet where the two plates are lapped each other. If you want to make this connection permanent by using rivet, so you can see the how riveting will be done. Right, so that's how the plates was permanently connected, okay, with the help of a rivet. So on both ends you can see only the head portion, right? Yeah, so this is one animation where you can understand about the rivet. Yeah, see, I think you're all from third years, you already gone through prying action, okay, block shear failure, right? So here I want to show you how the block shear happens in the uh, um, lap joint or even in the butt joint. So here there are two views. Angle which is connected to the gusset plate. So this is your angle which is connected to a gusset plate. So you can see how the block shear happens to the connected angular leg. Right? Yeah. So here see the left picture. So left picture you can see the failure in a form of a block. So this failure is where the force is perpendicular to the crack. So this is under what? This is under tension. So this is the tensile failure and this is the shear failure. When the force is parallel to the cracked portion, so that is a shear failure, and the force is perpendicular to the cracked portion, which is a tensile plane. I can call it as a tensile plane. This is the shear plane. Okay. So this failure is called a block shear failure. So because here it is failing in a form of a block. Okay. So these we will try to understand when we study the tension members. Okay. Designing of a tension member, particularly for angles. So this is a block shear. So I think we have did a number of problems on a block shear, even for the angles, even for the lap joints. Here one more example, how the block shear happens for lap joint, where the plate is subjected to connection. No, sorry, not the plate. Even I mean for the angle alone. So you can do all these in your strength of materials lab by having a proper connection on both the ends. Okay, you can use your UTM mission and you can make use of I mean you can test it practically how the block shear happens for the angular sections, even for your plates, right? See how you can observe the crack which is following through the grid. Okay, so this is what the block shear, right? See how the tearing was happening. So this is called the block shear. Okay, here I want to let you know one more video, show you one more video which explains prying action. Yeah, here is the one. Right, you all know, right, what do you mean prying action? So prying action is an additional force required to control the deformation in between two plates, right? See, here is the joint, but you can't make a joint here. Why? Because so where the plates are flexible, there is a possibility of deformation which can happen in between these two plates, isn't it? So you can't connect, you can't do any connection over here. If you want to control the deformation in between these two plates, how you can make sure that? So what you have to do is you need to increase the strength of this bolt. Additional to the external force, you need to add an extra force to this bolt. So that is how your bolt is supposed to be designed. So here your bolt is subjected to tension. Why? Because the force is parallel to the axis of the bolt. See, this is the force direction and this is the axis of the bolt, right? So your both force and axis of the bolt is parallel to each other, where the bolt is subjected to tension. So this is the tensile failure of the bolt. So if you want to control the deformation or displacement in these two plates, you have to design this bolt not only for the external force, even by adding an additional force. That additional force is called a prying force. Okay, you can see how the displacement in between these two plates, because this bolt is not capable of controlling this deflection. So this is what exactly the prying action. If this bolt having a capacity to control this deformation, definitely you can't see the deformation in between these two plates, because bolt is having a capacity. So that's why your bolt should be designed not only for an external load which is P, and it should be designed for Q also, where P plus Q will be the resisting towards this deformation. Okay, see how much displacement was observed in between these two plates. It was happened just because your bolt is not having a capacity to control this displacement. Okay, so this concept is called a prying action. So where you are going to design prying force, okay, by going through your code. Right, so you want to see it again because it is very important. In 2014 GATE also they questioned on this prying action. Okay, right, so I would like to show you a few more videos on connections. So this is a beam to beam connection. web connected to web. That's how shear force can transform into web alone. So why? Because web carries the shear force. See how the web was connected to web of the main beam. So this is the other way of connecting minor beam web to main beam web. So the difference between earlier video and this video is the depth of both beams are same in the earlier video, but here the depth of beams are different. So this is a major beam and this is a minor beam. So you can see the depth variation in both the beams. So this is a column beam connection. So where you can do welding like this. Again, see how web was connected to the column web. So it is not the same video. Again, you can see the difference in minor and major beam. The depth of this beam is very small compared to the major beam depth. Even you can connect beam to column like this with the help of an angle. This angle is called a cleat angle, right? So this top angle is called a cleat angle and bottom angle is called a seat angle. Seat. So because this angle is supporting the major beam to rest on it, so that's why this angle is called a seat angle. The top angle is called a cleat angle. Okay. So this is the other way of connecting. Instead of connecting straight away to the main web, you can connect to the minor beam web also. See, instead of angle, you can place a plate on top and bottom, okay, to connect beam to column. Earlier we seen angles, here plates. So this is a seat plate and top one is just a supporting plate, okay, not a supporting connecting plate. So this is called splicing. You can do beam splicing and we can do even the column splicing also. So this is the equal cross sections of two sections, right? So when the two sections are having an equal cross sections, so this is the way of doing splicing. So here the splicing is taking place on web and flanges. The plate which is connecting on top of the flanges is called a flange splice. The plate which is connecting web portion is called a web splice. Right? See here there is an example where a column is spliced with the help of a welding. Okay, you can see it again where the column was spliced with the help of a welding. So you can do bolting by adding the plates on flanges and webs. Instead of that, you can do welding also. So this is the other way of connecting column splicing. Earlier we seen beam splicing, so this is the column splicing. See, this is the way how your column get twisted, column gets bent, you know. So as it is a cantilever member, see for lateral force how your column is getting bent. Twisting. So this is what a pin support, which allows rotation and which resists a horizontal thrust and vertical displacement. See, one is the pin support, the other one is roller support. So roller can resist only the vertical displacement, but it allows rotation and horizontal thrust and horizontal, nothing but horizontal movement. Okay, roller support looks like this. So in a complete structural frame, you can see how beam was connected, major beam was connected with the minor beam. So that is the one way of connecting, and this is the other way of connecting. How tubular column is connected with the beam. Right. So like this there are plenty videos, so where you can see the real applications of the connections and all. Now you can see the column which is connected to slab base. So this is how the steel structural footing takes place. So these are all anchorage bolts, so which is casted along with the concrete, and these anchorage bolts threaded portion will be projected out by having a proper template. So these are going to be inserted into a gusset plate, right, and the gusset base was bolted with the anchorage bolt like this, and this gusset base, sorry, slab base, sorry, I'm sorry, this is the slab base connected to your column with the help of a welding. Okay, you can see it again. So that is one way of connection. That is the other portion where we do connections. First, there is an excavation pit. Bolts, anchorage bolts will be placed, and it is casted with concrete. And you need to maintain some space in between, and then after you can do it grouting. So slab base connected to your anchorage bolts and slab base connected to the column. Okay, right. Is the same or a different? Yeah, both are same. What else? Right. Yeah, that's it. So these are what I want to show you guys. Now we will move to our connection terminologies. Okay, so that ends with this video. Give me 2 minutes. In these 2 minutes I will give a questions. So today is our questionnaire time. Please try to answer these questions in these 2 minutes. So I will try to set for our lecture. Okay, so please try to note down these 2 questions. So today it's not a one question, it is there are 2 questions today where you need to answer them. The first question, I will show it in video. Right, so this is your question. Why partial safety factor of concrete is higher than steel? Why partial safety factor of concrete is higher than steel? See, there is no options for this, guys. Please try to answer as you wish. Okay, it should not be like a sentence, so please try to answer in a multiple words. Okay, there is a question, sir, when we connect members to web and flange. What do you mean? Like, when do we connect members to web and flange? See, we never connect web to a flange, right? So if you want to transfer load from, if you want to transfer shear force within the beam, so you need to connect web to web only. So if you want to connect, if you want to transfer bending stresses or bending moment, so you have to connect flange to flange. Okay, you can't connect web to flange. Why? Because there is no use of connecting web to flange, because load transformation never takes place, because web carries shear and flange carries moment. Okay, right. So your first question, why partial safety factor of concrete is higher than steel? So please try to answer this question. So you have 2 minutes time. And one more question. See, if you answer this based on the yesterday's discussion, many of having a doubt on what do you mean partial safety factor and what do you mean factor of safety. So this question will talks about the partial safety factor, and there is another question. Okay, so you all understood, right? So have you noted why partial safety factor of concrete is higher than steel? So please try to answer. The next question. So we calculate factor of safety for this problem. Calculate factor of safety for this problem. So here there is a picture, a rod which is connected to 2 couplers. So these couplers are subjected to force. Okay, 5 kilonewton on both ends, right? So this makes your rod into what? Shear. Why? Because your force is perpendicular to the axis of the rod, right? So the diameter of the rod is 6 mm. Diameter of the rod is 6 mm. Force acting on the plate is 5 kilonewton, right? And one more point, the maximum ultimate stress of the rod is, please note down, the maximum ultimate stress of the rod is 100 megapascal. The maximum ultimate strength or ultimate stress of this rod is 100 megapascal. Okay, the load acting on the plate is 5 kilonewton. This load is to be transferred to the rod, then only it will be undergo shear, right? So that's why I am giving the ultimate shear strength of the rod is 100 megapascal, and the force is 5 kilonewton. Diameter of the rod is 6 mm. Please try to calculate the factor of safety of this rod. I want the factor of safety of this rod. Okay, right. So please try to answer these 2 questions, guys. In between I will set up for our lecture. That ends with our video lecture. Okay, images and videos. Okay, so please try to answer first question as 1 and answer, and second question as 2 answer. I think second question you will get only a numerical value. So please try to answer second question as 2. Put the number as 2 and answer it. And first question 1 and make it an answer, right? Guys, I hope you are all answering for these two questions. Is this clear? Right. Okay, right. So what is your first question? Why partial safety factor of concrete is more than steel, isn't it? Right. So these are the two questions which are given. Why partial safety factor of concrete is more than steel? Yeah. And second one, I'm asking you to calculate what is the factor of safety for the given question. Right, just let me read the answers. Okay, anyway, many of you answered, right? Okay, for the first one, so why partial safety factor of concrete is higher than steel? See, can you tell me what is the factor of partial safety factor of concrete? Concrete partial safety factor is 1.5 as per IS 456, isn't it? Is this clear? Right. So I will make a margin here. By that I won't move the sheet. Mm. And what about steel? Steel partial safety factor? It is 1.15. So that's why my question is, why partial safety factor of concrete is higher than steel? See, partial safety factor is always depends on first towards its strength. It depends on its strength. Okay. Partial safety factors depends on its strength. Strength depends on what? Strength depends on manufacturing process. How the manufacturing is taking place. Based on that, your strength will depends. How the manufacturing depends? Manufacturing will depends on many factors, right? Manufacturing depends on many factors. So I will let you know what are the factors involved in manufacturing of concrete, and I will let you know what are the factors involved in manufacturing of steel. So coming to concrete, see, concrete manufacturing starts from where? So basically concrete strength is not uniform concrete strength. It always varies from batch to batch and within the batches too, right? What do you mean batch? See, in RMC plant, when your concrete is mixed and when it is placed as a batch, okay, so that strength always it will vary from batch to batch. So one transmit mixture, second transmit mixture, third transmit mixture, even though you are following the same M20 grade, you can't get exactly 20 MPa value in every batch. So it slightly it may vary. So that is the reason why concrete strength is not uniform. It definitely it will varies from batch to batch, and within the batch also definitely the value will be varied. Okay. So what is the major thing in that? It always depends on mixing, how we mix, and it will depends on formwork, for which formwork you are using this concrete, and it always depends on compaction, how better you are compacting the concrete, and how you are curing the concrete, and how you are transporting the concrete. Okay, these are the major factors which involves in manufacturing of concrete. Okay, so these factors are affecting the strength of the concrete, right? So coming to steel. So coming to steel, how steel is manufactured? Steel is always manufactured under controlled condition, controlled process. What do you mean controlled process? So it is having a kind of batching where it starts from melting, refining, okay, and again casting and rolling. So this is a controlled process where we are following in the manufacturing of steel. But coming to concrete, there is a different factors which is involving in manufacturing. So that's the reason why as the concrete manufacturing is not in controlled conditions, and steel manufacturing is under controlled conditions. So by that, not in controlled condition. So by that, it should be always taken more than the steel. So as per the code mentioned, 1.5 is for concrete and 1.15 is for steel. Okay, so this is the major, this is the meaning why we are always taking concrete partial safety more than the steel. So it is the taken value. Okay, right. So coming to the second question. So what is factor of safety? How you calculate the factor of safety? What is the formula of factor of safety? Factor of safety is equal to ultimate stress by what? Working stress. Ultimate stress by working stress. So here ultimate stress is what? Ultimate shear stress is 100 MPa, and the rod is having a capacity of 100 MPa to where it can able to carry. So this is the ultimate stress of the rod. For this load, for this working condition, what is the stress? So working stress is nothing but what? Working stress, how you calculate? Working stress is equal to working load by cross sectional area. So what is your working load? Working load is 5 kilonewton. What is your cross section area? As the diameter of the rod is 6 mm, the cross sectional area is pi into 6 square by 4. And what is your answer? Which is 44.2 MPa. Right? And the ultimate stress is 100 MPa, where the rod can able to carry, and for this 5 kilonewton working load, the working stress is 44.2 MPa and the factor of safety is 2.26. Got it? So 2.26 is the factor of safety of this rod, of this 6 mm diameter rod. Okay, see, this is how you are getting the factor of safety. Got it? So this is the difference between factor of safety and partial safety factor. Partial safety factor is nothing but what? Your ultimate load by design load. Okay, design load always we will get from where? From multiplying, from dividing your ultimate load to the partial safety factor. That's why partial safety factors are given in the code. Factor of safety will be never be given in the codes. Okay, so that's how the second question answer is 2.26 factor of safety. Okay, so I think these are the answers for these two questions. Done? Yeah. So now we will move on to our terminology, bolt connection terminologies. Very important, Amma. So if you understand this, then it will be very easy for you to solve problems. Terminology. Which terminology? Connection terminology. Okay, right. So first let me draw the diagram. Two plates which are lapped each other. Okay, where the bolteds are, two plates are lapped and connected like this. And let me draw the plan. I can see the both edges and I can see this edge. I can't see the bottom plate edge where I am drawing it as a dotted line, and from plan I can see all bolts where the bolts are placed in a pattern like this. So this is called a chain pattern. Okay, so right now we'll see one by one. First one, what do you mean pitch? Pitch indicated with the symbol P. What do you mean pitch? Pitch is defined as, how you define the pitch? Pitch is defined as distance between two center of the bolt holes which is parallel to the force direction. So this is the force direction where the plates are subjected to force P. So make it for F instead of P, make it F, right? So F. So what do you mean pitch here? Pitch is nothing but distance between center of two bolt holes which is parallel to the force direction. Force is in this direction and the distance also is in this direction. So by that this is called pitch. Okay, right. So next, what do you mean gauge? Gauge is nothing but distance between center of two bolt holes which is perpendicular to the load direction. Load direction is this and the distance is perpendicular to its direction. So it is called gauge. Got it? So that is what gauge means. And next, coming to edge distance. What do you mean edge distance? See, here you are having two things. One is distance of last bolt to the end of the plate. So this is the end of the plate, right? So this is indicated with the symbol E dash. And there is another distance, so which is in this direction. So this is edge distance, so which is indicated with the symbol E. There are two distances to the end of the plate, which we called as an end distance, to the edge of the plate. So from the center of the bolt hole, nearest center of the bolt hole to the edge of the plate, nearest bolt hole to the end of the plate. Nearest bolt hole to the end of the plate is called end distance. nearest bolt hole to the edge of the plate is called edge distance. Okay, so by that, gauge is indicated with symbol G, edge distance is indicated with the symbol E, and end distance is indicated with the symbol E dash. So here both are same, end distance and edge distance are both are same. Okay, so there is no varying in that. The only thing is you have to understand the difference between edge distance and end distance. Okay, edge distance is edge of the plate, end distance is end of the plate. Okay, that's it. So now we will go one by one. What do you mean pitch, and what are the technical formulas there to calculate the minimum and maximum pitches. Okay, first one, pitch. So as we know, pitch is nothing but distance between center of the two bolt holes which is parallel to the force direction. Okay, the minimum pitch formula which will be given in the code is P is equal to P minimum is equal to 2.5 times of D. 2.5 times of D. So where D is the diameter of the bolt. So there are two more terminologies. Diameter is always indicated with the symbol D, and hole dia also is there. Hole diameter is indicated with the symbol D naught. Got it? So diameter is equal to D, hole diameter is equal to D naught. So pitch minimum is equal to 2.5 times of D. This is how you can able to calculate the minimum pitch distance. Okay, so the same. So how to calculate maximum pitch? So maximum pitch formula is also given in the code. So please, all of you, if those who are having code books, so please go through page number please guys, all of you go through page number 73, so which is talking about connections in your IS 800 2007. In IS 800 2007, code is specially talking about connections, right? So in that you can note down the clause 10.2.2, 10.2.2, so which is a minimum spacing. Page number 73. It should not be minimum pitch, it should not be less than 2.5 times of D. Okay, so it should not be less than, and it should always should be more than 2.5 times of D. And what is the P maximum value? So P maximum is equal to 16 times of thickness of the plate, or 200 mm, whichever is less. So out of these two you need to take the minimum value. 16 times of T or 200 mm, whichever is less, you need to take. So this condition is applicable when your members are tension members. Okay, when your members are tension members only, you need to consider the maximum pitch as 16 T or 200 mm, where you need to take the minimum value. So you can find out these formulas from page number 74 in your IS 800 2007. Okay, and the other one is 12 times of T or 200 mm, whichever is less. So this is applicable when the member is a compression member. When a member is a compression member. Okay, so here let write D is equal to what? Diameter of bolt. And what do you mean T there? T is equal to thickness of thinner plate. Thickness of thinner plate, not a thicker plate, thinner plate. So what do you mean thickness over here? So you can see here top plate and bottom plate. So plates will have a defined thickness. So if the thickness are different, you need to take the minimum thickness value. If the thickness is same, you can take the same value. So but you have to take the thickness as a minimum thickness, not the maximum thickness. Thickness of thinner part, not the thicker part. So that is what T means. So like this, the minimum pitch is 2.5 times of D, and the maximum pitch is 16 times of T or 200 mm, whichever is less, 12 times of T or 200 mm, whichever is less. Again, this formula is also there in page number 74. Okay, so this is what minimum and maximum pitches. So these formulas, is for lap joint. Okay, got it? So these are for the lap joint. What happens for the staggered connection? Staggered connection అయినప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది? Is there any varying in staggered connection? Yes. So there is some variation in staggered connection. So where you have to understand in the staggered connection also. What do you mean staggered connection? Staggered connection is nothing but where the bolts are placed, like this. So this is the staggered connection. Okay, so if the bolts are placed like this in a form of a chain, these formulas are, one second. Sorry guys, small suggestions towards view of this camera. Okay, right, so I think now it is clear. Okay, so in staggered connections, what you have to do, for example, you got some value of 50 mm in the lap joint. If you are using the same thickness of the plate, same thickness or same diameter of the bolt, and you are doing a staggered connection, the values you have to increase by more than 50% of the values. Okay, so that is how in staggered connection, the important note is you have to increase the above values, whatever the values you mentioned here, like 16 times of T, 12 times of T, these values are to be increased 50% more, particularly in the staggered connection. So this is an important note you have to remember when you are doing a staggered connection. Okay, so right, so one more formula in the pitches itself. So till now these formulas we wrote for lap joint or lap connection, but what happens in the butt joint? Butt joint in the sense when two plates are butted each other, So there will be a plate on top. This is called a single cover butt joint. There will be a plate on bottom. This will be called double cover butt joint. So for these kind of connections, what will be the pitch distances? Okay, that we have to write. See, for every connection, the minimum pitch is common. The minimum pitch is 2.5 times of D. But the maximum pitches vary based on the type of connection. The maximum pitch is different for chain connection. Maximum pitch is different for staggered connection. And the maximum pitch is different for, butt joint or butt connection. Okay. So let me write for butt joint. Butt joint. So pitch maximum is equal to how much? Pitch maximum is equal to is to be restricted to 4.5 times of D for a distance of 1.5 times the width of the plate under. Got it? P maximum is equal to 4.5 times of D, distance of 1.5 times of B from the butting surface. From the butting surface. Very important. So you might not use these in your problems, but these are very important for competition point of view. So I will draw the diagram and I'll let you know. So this is the one plate and there is another plate which is butted each other. So this is called butting surface. There is a plate on top and there is a plate on bottom. So these are connected with the number of bolts, n number of bolts. Okay, like this. So this is the cross section. So let me draw the plan. So this edge I can see. And this edge also I can see, overall edge, overall, and the top edge of the plate can be seen here, and the top edge of the plate can be seen like this, and the butting surface in between these two parent members can't be seen. So that's why it should be drawn in a dotted line, not single dotted line, it is a double dotted line. Why? Because there are two edges of the plates, okay, which has butted each other. So now bolts are going to be placed like this. Okay, right. Now see the condition. So what is the maximum pitch in this butt joint? In this butt joint, what is telling? So let's take this is B. B is nothing but what? Width of the plate, right? Okay. P maximum should be 4.5 times of D for a distance of 1.5 times of B from the butting surface. Which is the butting surface? This is the butting surface. This is the butting surface. From this butting surface, take a length of 1.5 times of B. Okay, take a length of 1.5 times of B. Till this distance, you have to maintain the pitch as 4.5 times of B. So the distance between these two bolts is to be maintained as 4.5 times of D to a distance of 1.5 times of B. Okay, that is what code is telling for butt joint. For the butt joint connections, you have to follow a pitch of 4.5 times of D for a distance of 1.5 times of B. Then after, you can follow as usual what we mentioned in the so then after you can follow the distance what we mentioned as the previous maximum pitches. See, this is the maximum pitch. The maximum pitch is 16 times of D, 12 times of T based on the different types of the member. These pitches can be followed for the rest of distance. But from the butting surface distance 15 times 1.5 times of B, you have to follow the pitch as 4.5 times of D. Okay, so this is what code is recommending for butt joint. Okay, very, very important. So please keep it in mind. So this is what exactly the pitch means. Okay, got it? So pitch minimum is 2.5 times of D. Pitch maximum is 16 times of D, 12 times of T. And for the staggered connection, you have to increase the maximum pitches more 50% values of the above mentioned values. You have to increase more. Okay, that's it. So this is what pitch means, right? So now we will discuss about gauge. Gauge. What do you mean gauge? Gauge is nothing but distance between center of the two bolt holes which is perpendicular to the line of action of the force. Perpendicular to the line of action of the force. That is called gauge. So what do you mean gauge? See, ఇక్కడ చూడండి గేజ్ కి పిచ్ కి పెద్ద డిఫరెన్స్ లేదమ్మా. గేజ్ అన్న రెండు బోల్ట్స్ మధ్య డిస్టెన్సే, పిచ్ అన్న రెండు బోల్ట్స్ మధ్య డిస్టెన్సే. Okay, so there is no much difference in in terms of a formula. While you are writing the minimum gauge, you can also follow as 2.5 times of D, no issue. Okay, but coming to the maximum gauge, there is a difference. So the maximum gauge you have to follow, which should not more than 100 plus 4 times of T or 200 mm, whichever is less. So this is the important note. The minimum gauge you can follow as 2.5 times of D, what we followed for the pitch. But coming to maximum gauge, it should not be more than 100 plus 4 times of T or 200 mm, whichever is less. రెండిట్లో ఏదైతే తక్కువ వాల్యూ ఉంటుందో ఆ వాల్యూ తీసుకోవాలన్నమాట. సో దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ code is recommending for gauge. Okay, that's it. Not more than this thing, because the pitch is very important. The same formulas we can make use even in the gauge also, but the only difference in gauge is maximum gauge, where we have to follow this 100 plus 4 times of the T. Again, T here is minimum thickness of the plate, thickness of the thicker plate, thickness of the thinner plate, not the thicker plate. ఏ ప్లేట్ ఏకే థిక్నెస్ తక్కువ ఉంటుందో దాన్ని తీసుకోవాలి. ఇక్కడ చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. కమింగ్ టు బట్ జాయింట్స్. బట్ జాయింట్స్లో మీరు చూడండి, ల్యాప్ జాయింట్ అనుకోండి. ఇన్ దిస్ ల్యాప్ జాయింట్, లెట్ us take this plate thickness is 10 mm, this plate thickness is 16 mm. You can take T as 10 mm, right? Straight away. దాంట్లో ఎటువంటి కన్ఫ్యూజన్ ఉండదు. బట్ దెర్ ఇస్ అ ప్రాబ్లమ్ ఇన్ బట్ జాయింట్. సింగిల్ కవర్ బట్ జాయింట్, డబుల్ కవర్ బట్ జాయింట్లో ఒక చిన్న వేరియేషన్ ఉంది. అదేంటంటే, let's see butt joints like this. So this is a single cover butt joint and this is a double cover butt joint. So single cover butt joint lo meer thicknesses chudandi. Ippudu chudandi. So let us take this thickness of the plate as 10 mm, thickness of the plate as 12 mm, thickness of cover plate as 8 mm. Ippudu e plate తీసుకోవాలి? You have to take 8 mm instead of 10 mm. Why? Because this is also an important plate which is making the connection. So by that you have to consider the thickness of this plate instead of this plate. Got it? So that is very important. So అందుకే నేను దీన్ని డయాగ్రామ్ రిప్రజెంటేషన్ లో చూపిస్తాను, ఒకసారి చూడండి. So this thickness is 12 mm. This thickness is 10 mm. This thickness is 8 mm. Out of these three values, the minimum thickness you have to take it as 8 mm. Okay, very important. Coming to double cover butt joint, this thickness is 10 mm. This thickness is 10 mm. Top cover plate is 8 mm. Bottom cover plate is 8 mm. Can you tell me what is the minimum thickness here? So it is not 8. So might be you may see 8, which is the least value. No, 8 is not the minimum thickness. What you have to do is, both cover plates functioning is to connect the butting surfaces. By that, what you have to do is, you have to add these two cover plates. 8 plus 8 is 16. And the minimum and the parent plate thickness is 10. 10 16 lo minimum value edi 10. So you have to take the minimum value as 10 instead of 8. So you have to sum these two together. 8 plus 8 is 16. So 10 is the minimum more than 16. By that you have to take 10. ఇంకొక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ చెప్తాను దీంట్లోనే. let us take this plate as 16 mm, this plate as 12 mm, cover plate as 8 mm, bottom cover plate as 8 mm. So there is one plate which is missing, isn't it? So what is that? So that plate is called cover plate. Sorry, that plate is called a packing plate. ఇక్కడ ఒక ప్లేట్ ఉండాలి. ఈ ప్లేట్ యొక్క థిక్నెస్ ఎంతమ్మా? సో దిస్ ప్లేట్ థిక్నెస్ ఈస్ 4 mm. Okay. So now tell me what is the minimum thickness? What is the minimum thickness here? 16 8 plus 8 ఎందుకు ఓపెన్ చేద్దాం. So let us take this as 10, this as 6. Okay, this as 6. See, for your better understanding, I am just changing the values. Okay, don't mind. So see here, the one parent member is 16 mm, the other parent member is 10 mm, packing plate is 6 mm, top cover plate and bottom cover plate is 6 mm. Okay, out of all these, tell me which is the minimum thickness. 6 plus 6 is 12. 16 ఒకటి ఉంది, 10 ఒకటి ఉంది, 6 ఒకటి ఉంది. అవునా? సో 16 is the one parent member, 10 is the other parent member, right? 6 plus 6, summation of two cover plates is 12 and the packing plate is 6. మీ అన్నిట్లో ఏది మినిమం? 6. కానీ 6 తీసుకోకూడదు. వై? బికాస్ 6 is the packing plate. It is only used to pack the gap which is in between two parent members. కాబట్టి మనం ప్యాకింగ్ ప్లేట్ని తీసుకోకూడదు. వీ షుడ్ అవాయిడ్ దిస్. బై అవాయిడింగ్ దిస్, ఇప్పుడు చూడండి మూడిట్లో మినిమం ఏది? 12, 16, 10. 10. సో 10 is the minimum value where you have to take the 10 as a minimum thickness of the plate. Understood? So these are all very, very important. So might be solving, when you are solving problems, you may not come across these many hurdles in solving the problem, but for competitive point of view, for your IAS exams, for your GATE exams, this kind of information is very, very important. Got it? So that is how you have to consider the T value. T, which is nothing but thickness of the thinner part, not the thicker part. Thinner అంటే తక్కువ థిక్నెస్ ఉన్నది. ఏది తక్కువ థిక్నెస్ ఉన్నది? ల్యాబ్ జాయింట్ అయితే చాలా ఈజీ. 2 ప్లేట్స్లో మినిమం ఏది ఉందో అది తీసేసుకోవచ్చు. ఓకే, బట్ కమింగ్ టు బట్ జాయింట్స్ ఇట్ ఈస్ బిట్ డిఫికల్ట్ బికాస్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు టేక్ ద మినిమం వాల్యూ. సో చూడండి, ఆ 3 ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ నేను చెప్పాను. మూడిట్లో, దీనిలో 8, దీనిలో 10, దీనిలో కూడా 10. సో దట్ ఈస్ హౌ యూ హ్యావ్ టు కంపేర్ ద మినిమం థిక్నెస్ ఆఫ్ ద ప్లేట్స్. Okay, got it? Right. So now we will move on to the edge distance. Edge distance. See, edge distance anna end distance anna rendu okate. Okay, so there is no varying in the formulas, and see, all these formulas you can get from the page number 74. Okay, no worries amma. Page number 74 in your code, you can get all these formulas there, but this explanation won't be there in the code. This kind of explanation won't be there even in your textbooks also. It is all based on the understanding of the problems. Problems solve చేసేస్తారు. చేసినప్పుడు వాళ్ళు ఈ వాల్యూస్ ఎలా తీసుకున్నారు అని మనం అనాలిసిస్ చేస్తే this is the concept. Okay, అందువల్ల lecture is very important rather than just studying the textbook. Okay, right. So next coming to edge distance. Right. So what is the minimum edge distance? E minimum is equal to 1.7 times of D naught. Okay. ఇంకో ఫార్ములా కూడా ఇచ్చారు కోడ్, which is 1.5 times of D naught. Okay. So what is these two? ఈ రెండు ఏంటంటే, so this first condition is when your hole is made in field. ఫీల్డ్లో ఎప్పుడైతే
ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఈ ప్లేట్కి నేను హోల్ చేశాను. ఈ హోల్ మిషన్తో చేసినప్పుడు ఒకలా వస్తుంది, మాన్యువల్గా ఫీల్డ్లో చేసినప్పుడు ఒకలా వస్తుంది. ఓకే, సో వెన్ యూ ఆర్ డూయింగ్ హోల్ ఇన్ ఫీల్డ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు కన్సిడర్ ద ఎడ్జ్ డిస్టెన్స్ as 1.7 times of d naught. 1.5 times of d naught is when you are doing hole in mission. Okay, in missioned hole చేసినప్పుడు you have to take the minimum edge distance as 1.5 times of d naught. Here what do you mean d naught? D naught is equal to diameter of bolt hole. Okay, not bolt. Bolt అంటే bolt యొక్క shank diaని diameter of the bolt అంటాం. D naught is nothing but diameter of the bolt hole. Okay, this is the hole. So the diameter of the bolt hole. See, always ఒక పాయింట్ ఎప్పుడు గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, diameter of the bolt hole is always greater than the diameter of the bolt. ఓకే, ఎప్పుడు ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది. సో దీనికి కూడా కోడ్ చాలా క్లియర్గా ఒక పాయింట్ మెన్షన్ చేసింది. సో యూ హ్యావ్ టు go through that. So all of you, if you are having a code, please go through the page number 73. అందరూ ఒకసారి పేజ్ నెంబర్ 73 ఓపెన్ చేయండి అమ్మా. I will show you. In page number 73, yes, so here is the page number 73, right? See, అందరూ ఇక్కడ చూడండి, clearances for fastener holes. Fastener అంటే bolt ఇక్కడ. Okay, see what do you mean fastener? Fastener is nothing but a material which is used to connect two parent materials. ఆ parent materials connect చేసే వాటిని fasteners అంటారు. That by that fastener can be a bolt, can be a rivet. ఓకే, సో లైక్ దట్ ఈ పర్టికులర్ కోడ్ అనేది రివెట్కి బోల్ట్కి రెండింటికి ఒకటే అనమాట. దెర్ ఇస్ నో స్పెషల్ ఫార్ములాస్ ఫర్ రివెట్. ఓకే, యూ క్యాన్ కన్సిడర్ ద సేమ్ ఫార్ములాస్ ఈవెన్ ఫర్ ద రివెట్ ఆల్సో. ఓకే, సో వాట్ కోడ్ ఈస్ రికమెండింగ్? సో అలా సింపుల్గా ఇక్కడ రాశారు, వెన్ ద డయామీటర్ ఆఫ్ ద బోల్ట్ ఈజ్ ఇన్ బిట్వీన్ 12 to 14 mm, యువర్ క్లియరెన్స్ అంటే డయామీటర్ ఆఫ్ ద బోల్ట్ హోల్ షుడ్ బి 12 plus 1 mm, 14 plus 1 mm ఉండాలంట. ఓకే, దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ కోడ్ ఈస్ టెలింగ్. వెన్ యువర్ డయామీటర్ ఆఫ్ ద బోల్ట్ ఈస్ ఇన్ బిట్వీన్ 16 to 22, ఆల్వేస్ రిమెంబర్ డయామీటర్ ఆఫ్ ద బోల్ట్ నెవర్ బీ ఇన్ ఆడ్ నెంబర్. ఎప్పుడు డయామీటర్ ఆఫ్ ద బోల్ట్ 11 mm, 13 mm, 15 mm డయామీటర్ ఆఫ్ ద బోల్ట్స్ ఉండవు. ఓకే, ద మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చరింగ్ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్ దే విల్ ఫాలో ద ఈవెన్ సైజెస్. So the diameter of the bolt hole should be 16 plus 2 mm, 18 plus 2 mm, 20 plus 2 mm, 22 plus 2 mm. So what is this 1 mm and 2 mm? 1 mm is 2 mm is called clearance. Clearance ante this is what the clearance. If diameter of the bolt 20 undi, hole kuda 20 unte, you can't insert bolt into that hole. Your clearance of the bolt hole should be more than that. ఎంత ఎక్కువ ఉండాలి అంటే కోడ్ ఈస్ టెలింగ్ దట్ d naught is equal to 12 plus 1 mm, 14 plus 1 mm when the diameter of the bolt is in between 12 to 14. So here like this 2 mm is the clearance. Next 24 mm undanukondi and the diameter of the bolt hole is 24 plus 2 mm. So 24 kuda 2 mm clearance. Greater than 24 mm undanukondi, let us take it as 26 mm and the clearance is 3 mm. Okay, greater than 24 mm ఏ diameter of the bolt ఉన్న the clearance will be 3 mm అన్నమాట. Okay, so that is what edge distance, in that edge distance d naught stands for. Very important table ఇది. So this is there in your page number 73, table number 19, table number 19, page number 73 లో ఈ clearances ఉన్నాయి. Okay, so the minimum edge distance formula endama 1.7 times of d naught. And what is the maximum edge distance? Maximum edge distance formula enti? Maximum edge distance is equal to 12 t epsilon. Okay, where epsilon is equal to root of 250 by fy. 250 by what is fy? Fy stands for yield strength of steel. What is yield strength of steel? 250. 250 by 250 is nothing but 1. Okay, so that is what E maximum value. So the formula is 12 T epsilon. 12 T, again thickness of the thinner part, epsilon is nothing but the value 1. Okay, so that is the edge maximum value, and the minimum is 1.7 times of D naught when it is in the field, 1.5 times of D naught when it is in the shop, when it is in the mission. Okay, so that is how code is telling about the edge distances. Got it? Right. So today the last topic which I want to explain you, based on that I will wind up. Okay, so tomorrow we will discuss about tag bolt, and we will go into the design of the bolted connections. Okay, very important. What I am telling now is very, very important. So which is nothing but grade of bolts. Very important. చాలా మందికి ఇది తెలియదు. And how code is taking all these values, code ఈ వాల్యూస్ని ఎలా తీసుకుంటుంది అనేది చాలా క్లియర్ కట్ ఎక్స్ప్లెనేషన్ ఉంటుంది. ఎందుకంటే ఈ ఐఏఎస్లో గేట్ కాంపిటేటివ్ ఎగ్జామ్స్లో మల్టిపుల్ టైమ్స్ ఈ క్వశ్చన్ అడిగారు. ఓకే, సి వాట్ యు మీన్ గ్రేడ్ ఆఫ్ బోల్ట్? గ్రేడ్ ఆఫ్ బోల్ట్ అంటే లెట్ us టేక్ డయామీటర్ ఆఫ్ ద బోల్ట్ ఇస్ 16. ఓకే, ఆ 16 బోల్ట్ యొక్క అల్టిమేట్ స్ట్రెంగ్త్ ఎంత ఉంటుంది, టెన్సైల్ స్ట్రెంగ్త్, ఆ బోల్ట్ యొక్క ఈల్డ్ స్ట్రెంగ్త్ ఎంత ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, సో దట్ గ్రేడ్ ఇండికేట్స్ ఇట్స్ స్ట్రెంగ్త్ వాల్యూస్ అనమాట. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు మార్కెట్లో స్టీల్ ఉంది. స్టీల్ ఏ విధంగా పర్చేస్ చేస్తారు మీరు? బేస్డ్ ఆన్ ద గ్రేడ్. FE 250, FE 500, FE 550, FE 415. Based on the grade of steel you are purchasing the steel. That what that grade indicates? Grade indicates its strength in terms of yield strength, in terms of its ultimate strength. ఇప్పుడు కాంక్రీట్ ఉంది, సిమెంట్ ఉంది, 33 గ్రేడ్ సిమెంట్, 43 గ్రేడ్ సిమెంట్, 53 గ్రేడ్ సిమెంట్. 33 ఇండికేట్స్ ఇట్స్ క్యారెక్టరిస్టిక్ కంప్రెషన్ స్ట్రెంగ్త్ అట్ 28 days ఆఫ్ ఇట్స్ క్యూరింగ్. ఓకే, అలాగా ఆ గ్రేడ్ అనే దానికి ఒక మీనింగ్ ఉంది. ఇన్ ద సేమ్ వే బోల్ట్కి కూడా గ్రేడ్స్ ఉన్నాయన్నమాట. ఓకే, సో ప్లీజ్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ యూ ఓపెన్ యువర్ కోడ్ పేజ్ నెంబర్ 13. పేజ్ నెంబర్ 13లో ఓకే నేను మీకు చూపిస్తాను. పేజ్ నెంబర్ 13 ఇన్ యువర్ IS 800/2007. సో ద గ్రేడ్ ఆఫ్ బోల్ట్స్ ఆర్ క్లియర్లీ మెన్షన్. ఓకే, మీరు అబ్జర్వ్ చేయండి, ఇక్కడ చాలా క్లియర్గా IS 1367 Part 3 అని ఉంది, చూసారా? ఇది గ్రేడ్ ఆఫ్ బోల్ట్స్ అనమాట. ఓకే, సో చూడండి, గ్రేడ్ 3.6, గ్రేడ్ 4.6, గ్రేడ్ 4.8, గ్రేడ్ 5.6, గ్రేడ్ 5.8, ఓకే, గ్రేడ్ 6.8, గ్రేడ్ 8.8, గ్రేడ్ 9.8, గ్రేడ్ 10.9, గ్రేడ్ 12.9 అని బోల్ట్ గ్రేడ్స్ని మెన్షన్ చేశారు. గాట్ ఇట్? సో అలాగ మనం బోల్ట్ని తీసుకుంటాం. మీరు చాలా ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ సాల్వ్ చేస్తుంటారు. సో వేర్ దే టుక్ గ్రేడ్ ఆఫ్ బోల్ట్ యాజ్ 3.6, 4.6 అని తీసుకున్నారు. వాట్ డూ యూ మీన్ దట్ 4, వాట్ డూ యూ మీన్ దట్ 6 అనేది చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఓకే, సో లెట్ us టేక్ గ్రేడ్ 4.6. గ్రేడ్ 4.6 తీసుకుందాం. ఇక్కడ చూడండి ఒకసారి, గ్రేడ్ 4.6 యొక్క ఈల్డ్ స్ట్రెంత్ వాల్యూస్ ఇక్కడ మెన్షన్ చేశారు, అల్టిమేట్ టెన్సైల్ స్ట్రెంత్ వాల్యూస్ ఇక్కడ మెన్షన్ చేశారు. గ్రేడ్ 4.6 యొక్క ఈల్డ్ స్ట్రెంత్ వాల్యూ ఇక్కడ ఇవ్వలేదు. ఓకే, గ్రేడ్ 4.6 యొక్క అల్టిమేట్ స్ట్రెంత్ వాల్యూ ఇచ్చారు 400. అంటే గ్రేడ్ 4.6 యొక్క అల్టిమేట్ స్ట్రెంత్ వాల్యూ 400 MPa అంట. ఈల్డ్ స్ట్రెంత్ యొక్క వాల్యూ 240 MPa. వాళ్ళు ఇవ్వలేదు, కానీ మీరు చాలా ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ చేస్తుంటారు కదా. యూ హ్యావ్ డన్ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ by taking grade 4.6. In that yield strength of bolt is 240 MPa, ultimate strength of bolt is 400 MPa అని మీరు ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ చాలా చేస్తుంటారు. ఓకే, ఈ వాల్యూస్ ఎక్కడి నుంచి వచ్చాయి అంటే ఈ కోడ్ నుంచే వచ్చాయి. కోడ్లో 400 వాల్యూవే ఉంది, ఈ ఈల్డ్ స్ట్రెంత్ వాల్యూ లేదు. కానీ ఈల్డ్ స్ట్రెంత్ వాల్యూ మీరు 240 తీసుకున్నారు. ఎలా తీసుకున్నారు? వాట్ ఈస్ ద బేస్ ఫర్ దట్? ఓకే, సో అది మీరు ఇక్కడ అర్థం చేసుకోండి. క్లియర్? రైట్. నౌ I will explain you. In this, 4 indicates 400 MPa అని అర్థమవుతుందా? 4 indicates 400 MPa. ఏంటి 400? ఇది అల్టిమేట్ టెన్సైల్ స్ట్రెంత్ ఆఫ్ బోల్ట్ అనేది వాల్యూ 400 MPa అనమాట. 4ని 400గా మెన్షన్ చేశారు. 400ని 4గా తీసుకున్నారు గ్రేడ్లో. సో 400 MPa. ఇప్పుడు నాకు ఈల్డ్ స్ట్రెంత్ రావాలి. ఇక్కడ 6 ఉంది కదా, ఈ 6కి మీనింగ్ ఏంటంటే 400లో 60% అని అర్థం. 400లో 60% ఎంత? 6 4 24, 240 MPa. 240 MPa is nothing but yield strength of bolt అని అర్థం. ఓకే, ఇన్ దిస్ గ్రేడ్ 4 indicates ultimate tensile strength of bolt which is of 400 MPa. 6 indicates 60% of the ultimate tensile strength of the bolt which is 240 MPa. That is what grade 4.6 meaning. అర్థమవుతుందా? సేమ్ లైక్ FU 415 is the ultimate tensile strength of the rod. M20 grade of concrete, 20 is the compression strength of the concrete. అలాగే 4.6 of bolt అంటే 4 indicates ultimate tensile strength of the bolt, 6 indicates 60% in the 400 which is 240 MPa. అలాగే so the same way how all these values are mentioned in the chart. ఇప్పుడు చార్ట్లో అన్ని వాల్యూస్ ఆ విధంగానే మెన్షన్ చేశారు. మీరు ఇంకొకసారి చూడొచ్చు. గ్రేడ్ 8.8 తీసుకోండి. గ్రేడ్ 8.8 తీసుకోండి. గ్రేడ్ 8.8 గ్రేడ్ 8.8లో డైరెక్ట్ మీరు ఇప్పుడు చెప్పండి. FUB ఎంత? 800 MPa. FYB ఎంత? 0.8 ఉంది. ఇక్కడ 8 indicates what? 80% in the ultimate tensile strength of the bolt. 8% 800 ఎంత? 8 8 is 64. 640 MPa. 640 is the yield strength of the bolt. 800 is the ultimate tensile strength of the bolt. Of which bolt? Grade 8.8 ఉన్న bolt. కావాలంటే మీరు చూడండి, వాల్యూస్ ఇక్కడ అవే వచ్చి ఉంటాయి. ఇన్ యువర్ పేజ్ నెంబర్ 13 ఫర్ 8.8 గ్రేడ్ 640 is the yield strength, 800 is the ultimate strength. ఓకే, ఇలాగా వాల్యూస్ వచ్చాయి అనమాట. సో వెరీ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. సో ప్లీజ్ ట్రై టు రిమెంబర్ దిస్ అండ్ హౌ యూ గాట్ ద yield strength and ultimate strength of the bolts based on its grade. Got it? Right. మళ్ళీ అడుగుతున్నారు 4 indicates what అన్న? 4 indicates ultimate tensile strength of the bolt అమ్మ. 400ని 4 అని తీసుకున్నారనమాట. అర్థమవుతుంది. ఇక్కడ 5.6 ఉంది అనుకోండి, 5 అంటే 500 అని అర్థం. ఓకే, 500 5.6లో 500 is the ultimate tensile strength. 6 అనేది పర్సంటేజ్. ఇప్పుడు 500లో 60% ఎంత? 30. అంటే 300 అనేది yield strengthగా ఉంటుంది, అల్టిమేట్ స్ట్రెంత్ అనేది 500గా ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, దట్స్ హౌ. ఇక్కడ 4 indicates అల్టిమేట్ టెన్సైల్ స్ట్రెంత్. 400ని 4గా తీసుకున్నారు. 6 అనేది పర్సంటేజ్, 60% అనమాట. ఇక్కడ 8 అనేది పర్సంటేజ్, 80%. ఫస్ట్ 8 అనేది అల్టిమేట్ టెన్సైల్ స్ట్రెంత్, సెకండ్ 8 అనేది పర్సంటేజ్. ఇక్కడ 4 అనేది అల్టిమేట్ టెన్సైల్ స్ట్రెంత్, 6 అనేది పర్సంటేజ్. అర్థమైందా? క్లియర్ భరద్వాజ్? సో దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ మీనింగ్ ఆఫ్ గ్రేడ్ ఆఫ్ బోల్ట్, రైట్? ఓకే, so I think we can wind up today's class. So tomorrow what we do is I will try to explain you one more topic which is called tag bolt. Very very important for competitive exams because I think you never gone through this tag bolt in your course, but tag bolt is very important for competitive exam. Adi discuss chesin tarvata we will start design of bolted connections. Okay, right, fine guys. So shall we move now? Okay, so thank you for watching e-class today and we will meet you tomorrow same timing 10:30 AM, right? Thank you, take care guys, bye.